Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our work zone training discussion update. I think all of you have been here before in the tent theater, kind of like a sideshow on the midway of a carnival. We stand out there and hawk all the people in with our free handouts, and then we try, in the midst of all the other hullabaloo, to give you an important set of lectures. My name's Don Ellisberg. I'm here as a consultant to the National Asphalt Pavement Association and the road builders, but I'm here really as part of the partnership consortium that has put together this roadway safety program. And in the next hour and a half or so, we're going to try to give you a taste of what's in this material. Let me introduce my colleagues who will be presenting, not necessarily in the order of their presentation, but where they're sitting. Rod Wolford from FOF Productions, Scott Snyder, who you should have heard an hour ago, elucidating on the silica standard, who's the Director of Safety and Health for the Labor's Safety and Health Fund. And Emmett Russell, who is the Director of Safety and Health for the International Union of Operating Engineers, and Omar Lopez, who is the, I guess, the residing art official here, and also very heavily involved in their worker training. My job is to spend a very few minutes. I didn't see them. I'm sorry. Jerry Ullman from TTI, who's supposed to be sitting over there as well, and Beth Olson, who is also the other senior member of FOF Productions. And my apologies to both of them. But let me try to tell you what this is all about in a very short period of time. What we have is a really comprehensive work zone training program. How many of you have used this before? How many of you have seen this? Okay. What we're going to do is show you how we've managed to simplify this by doubling the number of modules and increasing the number of bells and whistles, so that this has gone from essentially a simple awareness program to anything you can use from, as we say, a 5-minute tailgate toolbox talk to a 5-day symposium on work zone safety. And it's really how you want to use the materials. Next slide. The partners in this are kind of important here, in that it's the in the order that they're listed here, it's the Labor's International Union and their Health and Safety Fund and their Training Fund. It's the International Union of Operating Engineers and all their entities, which happen to be subsumed inside the International. There's the American Road and Transportation Builders, the National Asphalt Pavement Association, the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, Texas Transportation Institute. Somewhere in here is NIOSH, OSHA, the Federal Highway Administration. Both OSHA and Federal Highway have been funding this project for about the last 7 or 8 years, so that everything you're getting is free. You've already paid for it. The point of this consortium is that we have done everything you could possibly do to make sure we had the central critical issues in work zone safety, protecting workers that are out there. And as I point out, this material has been vetted by every conceivable group that could possibly have an interest in this, representing every possible spectrum of the industry, government, and the worker organizations. So what you see is what it's supposed to be, and it's going to be as good as you get. What we have here in this package on this DVD, is it a DVD now? On this DVD are 33 different modules that are interactive, trainee booklets, a comprehensive instructor's guide so that you will tell you how to go slide by slide. We have toolbox pamphlets that go with all of the various modules. We have a flip book that's available in 17 by 20, 14 by 20, laminated. We have guidance documents. Everything except the flip book is downloadable. The material is in most of the material. You can do this by voice or lecture. It's in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, and you can do it by voice in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. What we have now is a series of what we call this new version. This is version 10. So we're calling it Roadway Safety Plus. And what we have are some very specific modules that can be used kind of as breakout courses. There is what I'll call the regular awareness course, that's something of everything. We have a specific series of modules on night work, which is obviously the coming thing, and we did a demo of the night work yesterday afternoon. We have runovers, backovers course that is really a standalone on those issues. We have a series of modules on disaster response for those organizations whose workers get called out in the event of natural disasters, tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, and have to be out there repairing roads that are half underwater with the snakes crawling all over them. And then we have some advanced courses on traffic control and other exotic pieces of the work zone safety material. Looking quickly at these different modules or different courses, you can see the topics really that are covered on the basic awareness, the topics that are covered on the night work, the runovers and backovers, disaster response. Now, some of that moves in and out on each of these courses that they're set up, but the idea is if you want to just talk about night work, or you want to talk about runovers, backovers, there is a block of modules that will do the job for you. As I said, this is all multi-language, and you can, as somebody will be demonstrating, you can switch back and forth both in the language of the slide or in the language, the voice language, if you want to just have it presented by the professional narration. We have kind of the centerpiece of what we have in all of this are a number of interactive demos that, as you can see, are very related to bringing out to the viewer just what the hazards are and how to avoid them, whether it's stopping distances to keep the flaggers alive, or excavation issues, or night lighting, or noise, or heat stress, and so forth. They're very, many of them are very entertaining, but all of them are very, very pointed to the specific hazard that they're trying to avoid. We also have this as a version by clicking it on when you set it up. It's called a compliance mode, which has basically line-by-line display you can click on by getting the applicable federal or state standards. It's got an update provision to it, but if you're only working in the state of Texas, you can click on just Texas and you get the Texas material. If you want to just get a consensus, you click on all and it'll show you the federal MUTCD, OSHA, and anybody else that's around that standard. Any more? Huh? Oh, okay. I mentioned that we have these advanced modules that we put into 10, and traffic controls, very important pieces on speed management. Everybody's now interested in how you get on and off the job, access and egress, motorcycle, bicycle safety, the positive protection aspects, which are really the risk reduction issues, exposures control, and various other control measures. And that's, probably more aimed towards the supervisors and managers, because this is really a program, once again, that is aimed at everybody from the workers to the owners, and anybody in between. And depending on what level of sophistication they have or interest they have, you can gear it up or gear it down. We've recently put in, which was part of our recent activity with the Federal Highway Administration, part of this grant project, a series of guidance documents that really give a very good explanation of, what are we talking about with managing speeds, what are we talking about exposure controls, what are we talking about even traveler information that you would be posting on a job. And so, as I say, this is presented by our consortium. Now, part of what we have here is built into this are a series of quizzes so that you can get a before and after quiz on what's to get some indication of just what did you learn out of all of this. That's also built into this whole process. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Rod Wolford of FOF, who's going to, I guess, give you the pre-quiz before we give you some presentations. Thank you.
Okay, in front of you all by now should have a controller in your hand. And on the controller, you're going to be able to take the quiz as we go forward. So let me begin. Get this slanted down a bit. Let me begin here with the first question. And then we'll go through a series of questions. And here's the first question. Well, it's starting on number 2, but that's all right. What we're going to do is we're going to select the best reference for selection of high-vis apparel is. And then what you want to do is you want to answer what you think is the best answer for that. Is it OSHA 1926.4? Is it NIOSH HHE 29? Is it ANSI ISA 107? Yes. Really have to be close. Okay. All right. Is it going to be the ARPTA RIM 2008, or do you not know? And you notice as you select your responses, there's a number down the bottom there that's now up at 21, 25, and so all of your responses are now being recorded. And by the way, we're doing this as a separate standalone entity, but this capability is built into the program if you're using these devices. And there are quizzes with every module, pre and post. This records the data straight to the to a database built into the piece and puts it into an Excel file, so you can do pre-post testing using the module in that regard. We've now got 41 responses in there, and I don't know how many people are here. And by the way, you can link up each controller. You notice it has a number on it. That number can be assigned to a student, so you can actually evaluate a student pre-post if you chose to do so. In this case, these have been handed out randomly, so we will have the database to make the comparisons, but we don't know who anybody is. So let's just say we're at the end of it. And when you're at the end, then you get a chance to show the responses. And this is what we see in terms of the way the audience responded. And you can see that a large majority of the individuals selected the ANSI ISA, but we have some of the other things displayed throughout. So we're looking at the responses of the individuals. Let's go take a look at the next one. According to the FHWA MUTCD, the spacing of advanced warning signs depends mainly on 1, highway type, 2, speed limit, 3, road surfaces, 4, weather, or 5, I don't know. So those are your responses this time, and we'll be looking for approximately near 41, but I won't spend a lot of time because we do want to move through everything as quickly as possible. So there we are. We're now taking a look at the responses coming in, and we see we've got 39, 40. If we get one more, that's great, and there we are. We'll say that that's where we are, so we'll stop polling, and again, we can take a look at the responses. And here's what we see in terms of the way people responded. Totally split between highway type and speed limit. And of course, this is one of the issues you will learn as we go through the module. Let's go to the next question. On the next question, we have An internal traffic control plan coordinates the flow of work and equipment, and where does it control it? On an expressway, on a rural road, in a work zone, in a transition area, or I don't know. And I don't know is always a reasonable answer as well. So as you record your responses here, puts them in there, then I will conclude this one and move quickly to the next one. Because it's fun to see the quizzes, it's nice for us to get the information, and we use it as an evaluation tool later on. But by the same token, what you're really interested in, I'm sure, here today is seeing the program. So one more, and we'll see. We'll just say, there we are. I'm just going to call it right there. And I'm going to show this one, and then I may stop showing responses at this point, though I don't know. Anyway, most people selected work zone, in a work zone. So let's go forward. Which warning zone hazards do not more significantly impact cyclists? Is it number 1, confusing and misleading signs? Number 2, degradation and pavement friction? Number 3, degradation in roadway geometrics? 4, pavement discontinuities, or I don't know. So this is which work zone hazards do not more significantly impact cyclists. This means equal impact for everyone, I assume. So we're up to 10, 13, 14, 19. 32. I'd like to see us get close, but again, I am not going to spend, okay, 38. Okay, close enough. Let's move forward. Let's just take a look and see what we see. And here we see confusing and misleading signs, degradation, and here we see more of a split. So this means there will be new information, obviously, coming to some people in this module. Okay, here's number 6. What should project inspectors watch for to improve cyclist safety in work zones? What are the things that we should look for? Is it loose gravel and sand, elevated manholes, places where water could stand? Is it 1, 2, and 3, which is answer 4, or is it 5, answers 1 and 3? And by the way, there are 9 questions in this pre, so we're getting nearer to having it done, at which point we'll turn it over to Scott for first presentation. Okay, let's take a look and see where we are. And what we see is a predominant number of people think 1, 2, and 3. Some think 1 and 3, and some think loose gravel and sand. All right, so let's move forward. And 7. Now this I'm going to give to you also to tell you that in the module there are 2 types of questions that are used. In the guidance documents and advanced modules, there are knowledge questions like we have just seen. But in the worker modules, we have a series of what we call behavioral-based questions or policy-based questions, and these are those type. The theory underlying this is that if a person recognizes a hazard, they're going to be ready to correct it. So depending on people's responses to these things, pre and post, you can tell if you've actually conveyed the seriousness of the hazard. And also intended behavior in a lot of the research is shown to be a predictor for future actual behavior. So these questions are based on that. In the past, how likely was it that I would make sure any trench 5 feet or deeper is supported by sloping benching or shoring? And your answers are 1, very likely, 2, somewhat likely, 3, somewhat unlikely, 4, very unlikely, and I don't know what this means. So I don't know what sloping and benching means. So those are basically the chances, the options that you have. And I'm going to stop the polling here in just a moment now. 36, 37. Okay, let's go ahead and let's see what we have here. And again, you see an array of responses, very likely, somewhat unlikely, very unlikely, and some who don't know what this means. So again, you have a base for understanding some of the information that's being conveyed. Here is another one that's a very similar, again, because we are doing excavation as one of the programs, so you will see these later on. In the past, how likely was it that I would verify that the competent person is inspecting the trench at the start of each shift? So this is supposed to be, what would you, in the past, would you have made sure that a competent person inspected the trench at the start of each shift. And once you get done with the polling, we'll show those results and then move forward. Okay, let's just go ahead and punch that over and let's see what we have. And once again, we see a very much an array of answers ranging from the 50% for the first down to 20 and so on and so forth. And here is the last question. And you can see where we will be able to use this because now we'll be able to cross those answers against we will be able to cross these answers against the responses within each column. And that will then give us an idea of how the actual answers distributed across the groups. Number 1, is your job position a contractor manager? Number 2, is it a safety professional or a consultant? 3, is it a laborer or worker of some sort? Is it 4, state, fed, DOT? Or 5, some other? So once we have those in, we'll take a look, and then it'll be fun to see who is represented in your group here. All right, so let's go take a look, and let's see what we have. Well, we have a number of safety professionals. We have few workers. We have a large percentage of safety professional consultants, state, fed DOTs, and some other. So now we know who's in our group here. And what I'm going to do is, at the end of this right now, this is going to save. And as it saves, then we will be ready to move forward. And let's see if we're done. Looks like we're done.
Great, thanks, Rod.
I believe that mouse up there should work, but you can also use the keyboard if you want to. Or that.
Okay. Okay. Let me just skip through the first slides. This is just sort of the introductory slide that explains the program and who was involved in putting it together. We rearranged the modules. Like I said, there's 33 modules, but you can change the order. And what we decided to do was to make it so that put them in a certain order. So this would be the first module, which is it's called the TTC Toolkit. This module was designed basically just to give people an awareness, an understanding of how is a temporary traffic control system set up, what are the different parts of it. Has 5 slides, as you can see, and the first slide is what are the parts of a typical traffic control zone system. And it has 4 parts, and when you click on it, you can see the 4 parts: the advanced warning area, the transition area, the activity area, and the termination area. And when you click on one of these areas, like you click on the advanced warning area, you can see this number 1 on the bottom. And if you click on that, it takes you to a screen that explains what the advanced warning area is. And there's a couple of lines of text. The advanced warning area tells the traffic what to expect ahead. And it goes through the parts. Advanced warning signs. And then it tells you there's 3 different positions for those, A, B, and C positions, plus the shoulder tapers. And you can click on the tables that tell you, for example here, table 6C1, it tells you what the suggested distance is between signs based on the road type, whether it's urban low speed, urban high speed, etc., for each position, A, B, and C. And also how to calculate the shoulder tapers. It gives you the formula and tells you, based on the speed limit, what the taper length should be. Okay. And then you can click back, and you can go through that with each part of the traffic control zone. Here, let's look at the transition area. What do you do there? It moves the traffic out of its normal path. Parts include the merge taper, shift taper, 1-lane, 2-way taper, and you can look at each one. And also here it tells you again what the minimum and maximum lengths of them are. And you can look at, for example, the merge taper, and here's the table that shows you how to calculate the taper length. For the activity area, that's where the work takes place. And the parts are the workspace, the traffic space, the buffer spaces, the longitudinal lateral buffer spaces. And again, you can, it'll show you, instruct you how to calculate those, how to take those into account. And then the termination area. There. Okay. Okay, now there's 4 other slides. The second slide in this module explains what a taper is. And you can click on any of the tapers sort of and then go back to a similar screen to what we had in the first section, which shows you how to calculate a downstream taper, for example, normally 100 feet. And then you have the table that shows you how to calculate it again. But also you can change the lane offset. Well, you can change the speed limit and show how the lane offset changes. Okay. And you can do that with each of these tapers, etc. In the third slide, it talks about the spacing for the warning signs. And here, what it says is the MUTCD does not directly use speed limit for spacing. The highway types are specified, and that often determines the speed. And you can see how you can change the highway type. Pick, say, an urban high-speed highway, and it shows you what the typical spacing is, and it also gives you the table. Again. Okay, so we've gone over the tapers, the warning signs, and then here in the third slide, we go to the typical applications that are in the MUTCD. And the typical applications, we have an index up here. You click on the index. You can do it by TA number, 1 to 46, or you can do it by work type. You could pick the type of road that you're going to be doing this on. Say, work in the traveled way of 2-lane highway, right here, and then it gives you all the typical applications, 7 through 17. You can pick one of them. Lane closure on a 2-lane road using traffic control signals. And there's the typical application. And then you can also change it. You can change the speed limit, the offsets. You can calculate the sign spacing. And it also has a zoom feature, so you can zoom in to look at individual areas of it. So I think this will be a very, very useful teaching tool. You can go to the different typical applications and show people the differences and explain to them and walk them through it. So all 46 typical applications are built into the program now. And then lastly, in this section, we have a quiz, just to sort of give people, refresh people's memory about what the different parts of the typical of the traffic control zone are. And here you can start the quiz, for example, and it says, okay, which section moves the traffic out of its normal path? Is it, the top 4 are the names of the areas, and the bottom 4, 5 to 8, are the descriptions of what these areas of the traffic control zone do. So which of these sections, which number does this go with? Moves traffic out of its normal path. Does it go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8? Yeah, what? 4? Okay, well 4 is the name of that area, but if that's where it goes, I would put this under number 8 here. Where does it have to go, Rod? Okay. Okay.
It's not. Oh, okay. Where do we want? Where does it go?
Goes in number 7. Okay, where's the advanced warning area? Is that 1, 2, 3, or 4?
How many are saying 4? Raise your hand. All right. Okay, and you get applause there. You probably can't hear it because I guess we're not wired for sound. Oh, there it was. It was just delayed a little bit.
Where's the activity area?
Let me do this. Hang on, I'm going to turn the speaker up. I know, but I'm putting it in the wrong place on purpose. Where's the speaker? I don't know. That's a good point. No, it's not giving it. When you get the wrong answer, it gives you a dough.
Okay. It goes, nope. Right.
You get the Homer Simpson. What's that? I don't think we have the cable.
I mean, right here.
Oh no, this you don't. That's only for speech. Okay. All right. Termination area. I hear a 1 out there. More applause. Where the work takes place.
Here, where the work takes place, number 6.
Let's traffic resume. It's not giving us much.
Okay, so you get the idea. So anyway, that's an overview of this module. Just in 4 or 5 slides, it gives you a basic understanding of what the traffic control zone is supposed to look like, how it's set up, where you put the signs, how tapers are calculated, and it has all of 46 typical applications in one module. So I think it's a very useful thing. We haven't really rolled it out yet, but I think people will really find it useful, particularly for teaching applications. So anyway, thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it over to, who's doing the motorcycles? Jerry's going to show our motorcycle module.